What's up, witches? Welcome to another episode of the BetterWitch podcast presented by the Modern Witch Network. I'm your host, Allie, aka BronxWitch. I'm a tarot reader, Reiki healer, and owner of BronxWitch HeadQuarters, a conjure shop and witchy workshare space in the Bronx, New York. And I'm going to be coming to you every week with a new topic and perhaps a guest co-host to share our real life experiences and some of the things that we've learned along the way as practicing witches. Because when we know better, we witch better. Today's co-host is Courtney Taylor. Courtney is best known as the modern day psychic and is a business mentor who helps women develop their psychic abilities and use them to build multiple six-figure businesses in the spiritual space. From a previous career in the entertainment industry as a publicist to becoming a social worker, Courtney brings a unique approach to her mentorship, teaching spirituality, energetics, and strategy. She has helped thousands of people globally to deepen their relationships, tap into their psychic abilities, and lead movements trusting their intuitive hits. You can find Courtney on Instagram at I'm Courtney Taylor and her website, moderndaypsychic.com. But I wanted to kind of start sort of foundational for folks who are tuning in and maybe don't even necessarily know what a medium is or are unsure even what they think about it. Because I think language is so important. So I do start a lot of conversations this way. But I wanted to start by asking you maybe like your idea of what a medium is, what a psychic is. Are these things the same? And like, how do I identify that like that's what's happening to me or like that's what's going on with me?
So first of all, I love this conversation. I think you're bang on when you say that there's a lot of people who are very afraid to step into this space, extremely afraid to step into this space. And I could even resonate with that because when, I've had these gifts my whole life, I've been able to tap in my whole life. I didn't fully understand. And I think that that's how most people feel is like, I have these gifts, I have these, hunches, or I have these intuitive hits, or, something's going on. I'm feeling something. I'm seeing signs. I'm seeing numbers. I'm seeing all the things.
Right.
But like, what's happening to me? I feel crazy. That's what everyone says is I feel crazy.
Yeah.
And so I felt crazy most of my life too. I was like, most people thought I was crazy because I would be like, I'm not going there. I know that this is going to happen. And people are like, what are you talking about, Court? What's the big deal? So I was always looked at as very dramatic or very like, like I don't want to be around people. And I just wanted to be by myself. And I feel like a lot of people who resonate with having gifts, having, just being able to feel into different nudges that they get and not knowing that this is channeling. So let's start there. We all have psychic abilities.
Yeah.
We all do. And we go through different experiences in our lives and you may open the door to your psychic abilities. You might not. You have that choice. You have that ability. But we all have a beautiful gift within us and it looks different for other people. Some people channel through art. Some people channel through, writing a book. Some people channel like I do, where it's just talking out loud and giving messages and connecting with people. Some people connect through, pulling cards, whatever it is. Like we all have different ways of channeling the message and downloading and connecting to spirit. So I want to start by just reassuring everyone who is watching that you have these beautiful gifts within you. You have this capability to connect to spirit, to tap into the divine source and the infinite guidance that they have for you. And so first off, let's talk about what a psychic is versus a medium, because a psychic, first of all, they're not the same. And a medium is usually always a psychic as well, but a psychic not usually isn't a medium or doesn't always have to be a medium. So I am both. But a medium is someone who can raise their vibration so high, their frequency so high, that they meet the level of spirit, and they're able to connect to people who have passed. They're able to connect to direct spirit. They're able to connect and give you, evidential examples of, this person is giving this message. And so is a medium is someone truly who is able to I think it really comes down to the connection that you have with spirit. Are you able to connect to that level? Are you able to surrender enough? I think that that's the big word that comes up when we're talking about psychic mediumship, is are you able to surrender enough for them to be able to move through you? Because once you give them the instruction, they're going to lead, like they're going to work with you. You're co-creating with your spirit team. And so I think that, mediums do beautiful work. I love when I'm able to raise my vibration enough to meet people on the other side and say, okay, I'm going to take your information and I'm going to bring it back, because I truly am the channel. A psychic is someone who is able to get a sense of information, get a sense of energy, maybe able to predict things, gets a sense of, messages about what's going on around someone. So someone who is I always say very tapped in, who is tapped into divine messages and source. And so I always remind people too that a relationship with spirit is really a relationship with yourself. And so if you don't feel like you're connecting to spirit, or even you're a beginner and you're like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm trying, but like, I'm not getting anywhere. I always say, okay, but like, how are you feeling about you right now? Where are you listening to you? Are you asking yourself questions? Are you doing the work here before you're asking for help outside of yourself? Start here. Right. And so the next level isn't, your next level, whatever that is healing something. It's not getting outside. It's not up. It's not getting outside sources to validate you. It's really about going within. And once you can sit and truly just pause, a whole world of information can come in for you. And that's why some people have like these breakthrough moments in like meditation, and they're like, oh my God, I have all these downloads, or, I was on vacation just relaxing. It's like when we truly slow down, that's when we can allow these beautiful moments to come through. And I want to remind everyone too, is that like at some point you've had some channeled message, whether you're a mom and you have that intuitive, oh my God, I don't want my child to do that, I just have a bad feeling. That's your intuition and your psychic abilities talking to you, communicating to you. Whether you're just getting, on the bus and you're just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I shouldn't be here right now. Like whatever it is, like you will get hits. And I think that people overlook the things that have happened in their life, that they have been able to connect to this far. But ultimately, we all have these gifts. We're all able to connect. And there are tools out there. There are beautiful tools that help you open the door, open the portal, so that you can connect further and deeper into this work. But I'll tell you this, doing this work with spirit really comes down to consistency. And so when you dedicate yourself and you decide, like, I want to do this, I want to sit in this work, and you show up every day and you have your rituals, whether that's pulling some cards in the morning and just sitting, or like journaling in the morning, or asking spirit too. That's my favorite tool, is to just sit and ask them, how should I lead today? Or what do I need to know today going into my day? And so just starting by asking simple questions and allowing them to give you the answer. But that also requires us to stop and listen, to truly listen. And I think that that's the other thing too, is that people, when they're looking for these messages, we're not only always given what we want, but we're given what we need. And that's hard to digest sometimes. People don't always want that. So they're like, oh, okay, that's not a message. That's not a message, but really it's a message. So it's about this connection with spirit, which is absolutely not complicated to foster. It just takes some work and some dedication.
Yeah. And I really like that you talk about everyone having psychic abilities, everyone having a certain level of ability to communicate with spirit. And I wonder what you think about the idea of like having a calling or some type of purpose for that ability. And what I mean by that is, I have come to think of a medium, like I used to think of a medium as someone who just saw the dead or heard the dead or could speak to spirits, etc. As I've gone on my own magical and spiritual walk and realized that, oh, actually all of us can do that. We all can tap into spirit. We can all communicate with spirit. I've come to have a more like refined view of a medium as someone who not only can communicate with spirit, but that has really basically come here with that purpose of bringing messages from the dead to the living for healing, for reconciliation, for lifting generational problems, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like certain people have come here with that purpose to actually, serve their communities or serve the world with that skill. Have you felt that way? Do you feel like there's that type of a distinction between people who, just all of us? I think of it like running a race or something. Like if you have mobility and you are physically capable, then we could all run this race. But maybe some of us can do it at an Olympic level. Maybe some of us came here with the body, the stamina, the drive, like to be a runner, Do you ever feel like mediums fall in that category where they are maybe exceptional or have something specific about them? Or are all of us, open to being mediums, and it doesn't really, it's not anything more complicated than just getting good at communication?
That's a beautiful question. I love that. So we all have the ability there, but most of us don't have that dedication. And let's be real, most of us don't have that. There's a lot of people who haven't, stepped out of the matrix yet. There's still a lot of people who are in the matrix and haven't stepped into, the spiritual space. And
even though they're seeing spirits or talking to spirits,
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. They're kind of in that in between space. So I would say, there's a lot of people who want to use their gifts just to be able to connect with people who have passed in their life, their mom who's passed or their dad, and they want to feel that connection again, and that's why they're learning how to use their tools, and they're content with doing something else, whatever that is in their life, but they take their mediumship gifts and they take their skills to inspire other people in their life through whatever they're doing, right? And then there's people, and these are most of the women that I work with, who come into this world knowing that they're here to make a huge impact. They're here to be leaders. They're here to really change and reinvent even what the psychic space looks like, which is why I'm called the modern day psychic. I really, a newspaper called me that early on in my career, and it stuck with me. I was like, yeah, I am modern. I'm
Right.
taking out all of the woo woo, like, and it's not all crystal balls, and it doesn't have to be tarot cards and all the things that people associate with the neon signs, all that with psychic work. Yeah. It's really about.
So I do want to get a neon sign in here for when I'm here and doing readings, just because I think it would be so cute to have like a little neon crystal ball like this. The reader's in.
No, it's so cute. I totally agree, but I'm just saying that it's not all that anymore. Yes. It's not all that, right? Because I think that a lot of people are still kind of like, there's still a lot of people who have mixed feelings about what we do. They think that we're woo-woo. They think that we're crazy. They think that we're like mind readers and we're going to get into their head and play. And like, there's a lot of people who still have misconceptions about what we do, right? And so I really, when I stepped into the space, wanted to redefine what this looked like. And I'm also a social worker. So I bring in my social work background and really include sort of that counseling aspect into my work, which is what makes me different in this space. But everybody can tap into their gifts. Now, like I said, that there's some people who just have the determination and who decided before they even came here, right? Before we come here, everything's predetermined. Like, we decide, okay, we're going to go, be this. We're going to have these parents. Like, everything is sort of decided before we come here, so that we can work through the lessons that we need to. We can work through, all the soul adventures, all the things. And so I truly believe, just like I say, we were, our guides are assigned to us. I truly believe that, if we're ready to do the work, spirit will step in with you and do the work with you. But they also will step back and go, okay, like we're here in the background, but like if you're not going to listen to us, if you're not going to do the work with us, like we're not going to push you. Like you have to make that impact, right? And so I think that the people who really are leading in this space, the people who are really doing this work and making an impact and using their gifts to change the world and help people make more money and create more abundance in this world, are the people who truly surrender into spirit and truly can raise their vibration and their frequency enough to meet spirit and say, all right, let's do this work. I'm not just going to tap into them to get information, but I'm truly walking with spirit. And I think that that's the difference. Is like, when I first started, I didn't fully embody this work. I was talking to spirit like, hey, I'm having this problem today. Can you help me? And I think a lot of people do that. They just turn to spirit when they need help, but
Very
that's not fair.
transactional. Yeah. Like
Transactional.
when I need something,
Yeah.
reach out to you, as opposed to a daily or regular kind of check in. Like we are always, involved with each other.
Exactly. Like a relationship. Like
Right.
like this is your best relationship you'll ever have in your life. And so it's like, how are you going to treat, like, how do you want to be treated in that relationship? And how are you going to show up to treat that person too? And so just remember that this is ultimately a relationship. And so if you show up, they're going to show up and move mountains for you, but you have to lead. And so I really help leaders step into leadership, like fully, truly step into leadership so that they can make an impact with their gifts, whether that's, I have people who've helped the police, doing bigger work with the community in that way. I've helped people create businesses that they're making, helping people build, like community centers for mental health. Like we're really using our gifts to make an impact. And I think that, it's a good reminder that it starts with us. And when we're given these gifts, it's like, use them. We create such a difference in our world, but it's a ripple effect, because then we're giving other people permission to then go and create themselves. And so I just think this is beautiful.
Yeah. Like don't get me started on the self and the collective, because I have recently been learning so much, especially as a new small business owner, and creating like a community space for people, realizing that like so much of what I want to do for my community starts with what I am doing for myself. And, we live in a society, this is a little off of mediumship, but, we live in a society that really doesn't value self-care, self-preservation, therapy. And I don't mean like giving yourself therapy, but I mean like getting therapy for yourself, like applying therapy to your life. Like all of these things were kind of discouraged as like that's somehow selfish to do that. And it's like, I don't think you understand how it changes my community that I meditated today. Like that makes a difference to everybody, the self and the collective. But I love how much passion you have when you talk about this topic and stuff. I can just like feel it like vibrating off of you. And I'm sure that the listeners and the viewers can like feel that too. And for folks who maybe are meeting you for the first time, can you just tell us a little bit about your early experiences with realizing that you had a more honed gift, that you were tapping into things that maybe other people were not experiencing? Because it feels like this comes from a very personal place for you with your own experiences. So what was that like for you? And was it immediate that you realized that like, I am here to change the world? Spirit, I understand why you're sitting at the foot of my bed. It's cool. Come on in.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So I actually have quite the story. So, I've like known my whole life that I've been, like I said, that I've been able to tap in. I see this little, like my first spirit guide that I was able to truly see was this little boy. And I remember the first time that I saw him, I was about 7 years old. And I woke up one night and he was at the end of my bed, and I was like, and I just like freaked out. And I remember my cat and my dog were in my room, and they were staring at the end of my bed too. And I remember I was like, oh my God, like, oh my gosh, what is this? And at this point, like, I was very young, so I had a lot of intuitive hits. I had a
How
lot
old
of
were you? Were you like 7 too?
I was 7 years old when I saw this. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was 7 years old and I saw this little boy at the end of my bed, like really young. And I had, before this, I had, always had these like hunches. And it actually came out as anxiety. So this is interesting too, is that there's a lot of conversation. I wish that there was more conversation. So this is a good time to talk about it, but connected to mental health and the mediumship space. Because I mean, I'll be like transparent. Like, I struggle so much with my mental health. I'm very open with my community. It's been a big part of my journey, and it's why I, went back to school to be a social worker, so I could take all the tools and really apply them to me, and then turn it around and teach other people. So I've struggled my whole life with bipolar and anxiety, and I started treatment when I was a little girl. But a lot of the things that were happening was hallucinations. I was, having imaginary friends. I wouldn't want to do things because I knew that it wasn't going to feel good, and no one understood me. No one understood, especially at that time. Like, this space wasn't even evolved. No one really knew that psychics, especially at that age, like, what the heck, right? So my parents weren't equipped and had no idea. They just leaned into the support and the therapy around healing my mental health and my anxiety and making sure I was okay. And so as I got older, it just increased. I kept seeing, ghosts, spirit, whatever you want to call them. I kept getting intuitive hits around when people would die, or if something was going to happen at school, or if there was going to be a fight with a friend. And it was like, it was really uncomfortable because I didn't know how to use my gifts at that time. So I was very, there was a lot of conflict in my life. There was a lot of conflict because people didn't understand me. I didn't fully understand myself. My parents didn't know how to help me. And everyone just kind of looked at me like, she's selfish. She doesn't understand me. Like, who is this girl? And so it was really rough. Like, it was really rough. And I think one of the things I want to share too is that a lot of people who have psychic abilities and who are highly sensitive, empathic, who really feel energy and pick that up, have probably felt awkward in their life at some point, because I hear this all of the time, where they feel misunderstood. They feel they feel so much, and then people don't understand why they're tired, or they need space.
Right. I definitely think a lot of mental illness is misdiagnosed, like psychic ability stuff that is not
100%.
Properly placed, or someone doesn't know what to do with.
100%. Yes. Chills. Yes, absolutely. And so as I got older, I just, I had different guides that would come in. I would talk to them. And I talked to them like they were my imaginary friends. And a lot of kids have imaginary friends. And so what's interesting is I actually work with a lot of kids. Parents come to me and say, my kids seem, connected. They're waking up with wild dreams. And I'm like, you have a highly intuitive child that is not honing in on their gifts. So we got to work on that so that they can channel the message, right? So we're starting to see, which is really cool, that even the younger generations is really starting to tap into their gifts at a young age and making a difference with them. So this is such a cool space now. And so as I got older, my cool story is this. I was working in Hollywood. I left when I was 18 and I moved to LA. My biggest dream at that time was to be a publicist for celebrities. I wanted to be seen in that way. That's the Leo in me. I was like, oh yeah, I want to be seen. I want to do all the things. I want to be like famous, right? And so I hired my first coach. I was 18. I hired my first coach, and I manifested the heck out of working for A-list celebrities. And I was living the dream. To everybody, I was living the dream. I was miserable. I was in this space where people were not authentic. I was collecting so much energy because, again, I wasn't tapped into my gifts fully at this time. And it just didn't feel good. So I hit rock bottom. I crashed. I completely crashed. And this is when I was diagnosed with bipolar, and I came home and just I had to take some time. And at this time, my mom discovered a spiritual church in my hometown. And she was like, you need to come. You need to come. You need to fly home, because I wasn't at home at that time. She's like, you need to fly home and come. And I was like, whatever.
What?
So I walk in, start bawling my eyes out. I have no idea why, but I just start bawling my eyes out. And my mom's like, what the heck? She's like embarrassed at this point. She's like, what is going on? And people are looking at me, and I'm just like, I don't know why I can't stop crying. So I sit down, and the speaker of the day, who was a medium, pretty well known in my hometown, was going up, and he just kept looking at me. I was like, oh my gosh. So he did his talk, and it resonated so deeply. It was like I needed to be there that day. Like I needed to be there. And then he was coming out to do some readings in the audience, and he comes to me and picks me out and says, I have a message for you. And I was like, okay. And I'm crying. I'm bawling. And he's like, in his own words, basically was like, you are not where you're meant to be. You are here to change the world with your gifts. Like, you are so psychic. And what are you doing? Like, what are you doing right now? Like, you have to do this. Like, you have to, this is your purpose. This is why you're here. Everything changed in that moment. I needed someone to call me out and say, you do have psychic abilities. This is real. And this is why you're here. Right. And this is also why you're crashing right now, so that you can come up, you can reinvent yourself, this whole death, so that you can have this beautiful rebirth, right? And this was my spiritual awakening. This was truly my spiritual awakening. And I went home and I bawled my eyes out, and I sat and I was like, how do I move forward? And I just started learning everything that I could. Everything. I read so many books. I listened to all the podcasts. I hired mentors. Like, I did all the things to study how to really tap into my gifts. And it just started. It just started. And I left my career as a publicist. I left everything behind, and I was like, I'm starting over. Yeah. And things moved really fast. I was headhunted by the biggest psychic network. Like, things just started moving. And this is what's so beautiful. When you fully step into your truth, when you fully step into alignment and your soul's purpose, when you find that, things move. Yes, things move so fast. And so I think that a lot of people stay comfortable with where they are. And that was how I was. I was like staying comfortable in, I created this dream. How can I leave it? Yeah. But we get to shed layers. We get to reinvent ourselves. Like, that's part of life. We get to evolve. And so, this is just for anyone who's listening or watching, like, this is permission that you can go. You can let go of things that aren't, serving you anymore. Like, take off the winter coats, take them off, like, let go, just breathe, allow yourself to be, and make room so that you can hold new things in your life. Let go of the things that don't serve you anymore.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for the voices like the leader, the speaker that day at your church. Like, I have a very similar experience as a tarot reader and a practitioner, having somebody who was already on their journey turn and say, you can do this. What are you doing? Like, I see this in you. Go forward. And really, like, being that wind in your sail, or like that breath of air that you need to get started, and having it really just take you down a path. Prior to 2019, I was a practicing witch, but I was a full-time bar manager. I'd been in hospitality in New York City for 15 years. Dropped out of law school and figured I was going to take over the world, owning bars, or at least one. And really nothing in my life said, you are going into a practice of spiritual business ownership, of doing the thing that you do, like, on the side, secretly for yourself as a job, maybe changing the face of how people see witches as a person of color, as a practitioner in the inner city, etc. All of that came from like literally a few lines of encouragement from the right person. So for people who are out there who are feeling like they're tapping into their psychic abilities or their mediumship skills, and they are maybe running from them a little bit. Where can people look for those advisors, those words of wisdom from people who have maybe overcome some of that fear, etc.? Is there like a mediums support group that I can join, or like, is there community around this space where people who, are scared of what they're experiencing can like find others who are like, you can do this?
Yeah. I think you just nailed it. I think that is truly the most important part of developing your gifts, is having that safe space and that community, because it requires us to be very vulnerable. When you're sitting with spirit, when you are allowing yourself to be seen and to open up and surrender, it's scary. It's scary, especially when it's not something that feels comfortable to you because it's new. And so I say, like, this is truly a space where having a mentor, having a community, having people that you can lean into, having like, a couple of friends that are also in the space where you can tap into one another and just say, I'm feeling this today, or I need to release this. Can I bounce this off of you? And I think too, another reason why it is so important is that there's a lot of people who are probably still going to question why you're doing this work. That comes up in my space all the time. It's like, there's going to be family members, there's going to be coworkers, there's going to be people who don't fully understand if you haven't, if you're still working in your corporate, or your family doesn't get why you're doing this, or, this is woo woo, like, what are you doing? So, there's going to be people who don't get it. And so, first of all, it's not your responsibility to make them understand what you're doing. It's your responsibility to own your gifts. That's all that matters. And if you're living in your truth, that's where I want you to be. And so, I created, I'll tell you, like, I created a community because I felt like I didn't have my people. So I was like, I'm going to do this. And that was a big mission for me. That's been sort of what I've been manifesting over the last couple of years. And it's just sort of coming together now, which, guys, manifestation doesn't happen overnight. Like, it takes time. We have to take the steps. Like, we have to move through the lessons, all the things before it comes together. So if it hasn't happened yet, doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, but it's asking you to hold the vision, stay clear on what you're creating, and what you desire, and it will manifest. So, I think that, I was manifesting a community for so long, and it's finally coming together. And so I created Next Level Psychic membership, which is a low-cost membership for people to join. And we do coaching calls, and people talk about how they've evolved their gifts and what messages they shared this week, and if anything was channeled. And the growth that I've seen in people has been incredible, just because of the community. At the end of the day, it's community, because they feel seen. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we're all searching for, is to truly be seen for what we're doing.
And to feel like what you are seeing is not is real, to some extent. Like, I think that is something it seems so small, but I think it's incredibly valuable to have someone say that, like, what you see, what you hear, what you feel is real, and it's valid. And if you sense an energy, you sense a presence, you feel that you saw something, like, rather than just writing that off, give yourself permission to say, that is real. And I really experienced that. And then, like, see where that leads you. And I really think that having other people around you makes that easier. I don't think it's impossible, if you are like by yourself and you haven't found a community yet, to sit down and tell yourself, okay, like, I know, I have a grasp of my mental health. I know that I am healthy. I understand what's me, what's not me, what's real, what's not real. And I am legitimately having these experiences, and I want to lean into them and see where they take me, or what else I can learn from them. I totally think that that's possible, but I think having a community probably makes it a lot easier to do that and not get, freaked out or thrown off course, and to, like, let yourself go deep. Because, like you said, it really is a surrender. For those who are new on their journeys, who may not have experienced channeled messages or trance experiences or things like that, but feeling your body or feeling your consciousness like being influenced by another being is whoa. It's like, it's a little whoa, you know? So to have people around you be like, it's okay. I've been there. That happened to me one time. Like, you know, grandma had me doing like the polka in the living room, you know, like it's all right. That will happen. So I think that's really huge. And I love to hear that there are folks out there like yourself that are starting spaces where people can go and find that type of support. Cause I want to see a world, honestly, where like being a psychic or being a medium is just like being a dentist or being the chiropractor in the neighborhood. It's just another area of care of your life that you take care of. And there are folks who provide that service and they're readily accessible and easy to find and all of that. So, and I feel like spaces like what you have going on help facilitate that, make it a little bit more, you know, normalize talking to Granny's spirit.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh, I love all that. Absolutely. Yes. People can move through this alone 100%. But it's like anything. If you want to move ahead quicker, like lean into other people, right? Ask for help. Like ask for help. This is like ask spirit for help. Ask other people for help. Like I think that's a big lesson too on our journey in this world, is like knowing that we don't have to do it alone, knowing that we don't have to be alone in this process. And that's part of the surrender, is like, we don't have to be alone. Spirit's with us. We have guides that are with us, and our guides are constantly changing. So spending the time to get to know our guides and working with them is so powerful. Okay, guys, this content is so good. This is so good. I am loving this conversation so much, but I think it's time to take a little break, and we'll continue this beautiful conversation around mediumship.
I was hoping you actually could maybe help folks with that a little bit. Connecting with your guides might be something that seems kind of abstract to folks at first, you know, that you have this spiritual team of unseen beings, some of who may have been on this earth, some who may have never been on this earth, that are invested in you and care and have a relationship with you that you maybe established prior to coming to this body and this reality. And so the idea of first establishing that connection with your guides is probably a little confusing to most. Are there some tips or an approach that you recommend to folks who have never done this before, like how they could maybe connect with a guide or a group of guides? Or
Absolutely. So I always say, if you have someone in spirit to connect to directly, like I always say, start there. If you have a loved one who's passed, it's probably going to be easier for you to tap into them before you tap into someone else, another frequency, another energy that you don't know. So I always say, if you have someone in spirit, start with them. And my favorite tool, and it's so simple, is to just start talking out loud with them. Start talking, sharing your day like a relationship. So it sounds like you sound like you're talking to yourself, because basically you are. But I walk around and I talk to my guides all day, and I'll be like, okay, you know, today was a great day. I served this client. I was on this podcast. Thank you so much. I sit in my gratitude. And I'm like, okay, whatever needs to happen next, let's do it. Like I have conversation. And I feel like that's a really good tool because it gets us, one, thinking about what we're saying to ourselves, like it starts to really create some mindfulness. And then it allows us to create that relationship outside of ourselves. And then we can also ask for validation and ask for signs. So it's like getting into this idea of us handing over a recipe to the universe and saying, this is what I want. Can you give it to me? And so, you know, I always say one of the things you can do is like sit in a place where you feel safe. That's the most important most important thing. So, you know, if that's your favorite spot in nature, or if that's in your office or whatever that is, find a safe space, because again, you're going to be getting vulnerable, and just sit and talk to them and say, okay, this is what's going on. I would love some validation. If you could show me the number one, I'm so grateful if you could show me the number one. I will take that as a sign to move forward. So again, telling them exactly what you need, but getting to the point where you're asking again for that help, asking for that support. Also a reminder that don't just go to your spirit team when you need something. Like, don't just beg them for help. Again, transactional, like you said, really create that relationship where you're talking to them out loud and you're sharing it's kind of the idea where you're journaling and you're just releasing everything that's coming up. That's when the ideas start to come in. All those aha moments that you have, that's your spirit team going, bing, dropping information in for you. And you're like, oh my God, I just had that idea. That's you channeling. That's your spirit team coming in and giving you insight. So people in my world know Darcy. Darcy is my spirit guide. She is like my homegirl. I love her so much.
I have heard you refer to Darcy in your lives.
Yes. Yeah. I love Darcy so much. She came in for me in 2018. And it's because I asked of her. So this is another thing, is like, people can ask. It's like, okay, who are you? Why are you here? Tell me about yourself, and then sit and listen. But it's also going back to that practice of listening and being able to surrender enough to say, okay, I'm going to get out of my head. I'm not going to get in my head and say, this isn't real. You know, like really putting all of that doubt and moving your ego away and just focusing on what you're doing with your spirit team and asking those questions. So really prompting questions. But when Darcy came in, I asked her, I just said, who are you? I feel a new energy. Who are you? What are you here to do with me? And she was like, I'm here to turn you into a fucking leader. That's what she said to me. She's like, I'm here to turn you into a powerful, powerful leader. And I was like, I got chills. And she's like, you weren't ready for me yet. And I was like, you're right. I wasn't ready for you yet. So your guides come in based on similar goals. And I hadn't been ready to open the door to work with her until I had gotten to that point in my space. And so this is why, you know, if you have people that you can connect to directly, start with them, but also know that there are people who you haven't met in this lifetime. Maybe they're from past lives. Maybe they're angels or ancestors who are coming in to teach you about things that they've healed from. And so, you know, when you're first starting, I would say the most simple thing is to, you know, one, allow yourself to surrender, find yourself a safe space, and two, start just talking out loud. And then three, find a tool that works for you. Tools are really great for beginners. So if pendulum, or if that's a deck of cards, and allow yourself to set, like, again, just start with, okay, spirit, what do I need to know today? And I love starting my day like that, pulling a couple of cards and allowing yourself to just take in the message. You know, you're a card reader, you just take in the message. It's powerful, it's beautiful, right? And so I would say, again, going back to what I said earlier, it's about consistency. So creating consistency and showing up in this relationship, not just going to them when you need them or you feel like talking to them, but just incorporating this every day where, you know, you're starting your morning, you're having a conversation with them. And over time, it's going to feel a lot more natural.
I think it would be important for people's safety and just making sure we touch the whole spectrum, that we do talk a little bit about what it's like when you have an interaction with that spirit that maybe won't go away, or that you feel like you don't have control over, or that you can't regulate. Have you had experiences with that, or maybe your clients have had experiences with that? And what might somebody do if they've tried to maybe speak to a spirit, set up some boundaries, and it's like not happening, and they keep having paranormal activity or, you know, unsettling or uncomfortable experiences?
So a lot of the times they're coming in because they have a big message and they are trying to get through to you. And so usually I say, what are you not listening to that this guide has to share with you? Because they're really trying to get your attention.
And that's why it's so
So
dramatic what they're doing.
that's why it's so dramatic, because I call it spiritual intervention. They will be in your space until you pay attention. And so I talk about this a lot. I don't feel like there is necessarily like bad spirits. I think that when we go back to soul level, and we're all doing work. We're all here to do work. And so I think that, you know, if you're feeling like you're connected to a guide or you're connected to spirit who you're having a hard time controlling, or you're having a hard time, I would use that as an invitation to say, okay, why are you really here? What am I not learning from you? And so I always think that everything's just an invitation to go deeper. And I think too, that's where you can bring things in, like some tools like black tourmaline. Like I always carry black tourmaline on me. That's a crystal. For anyone who doesn't know what black tourmaline is, it's a crystal. And I get just like a small tumbled stone and I shove it in my bra and I wear it on me. And so I feel protected. And you can also do some cord cutting activities where there's so many that you can do, but just, you know, even just saying to your spirit team, like, I'm cutting cords with this person. I know I don't want to be connected. Words are powerful. Like, this is going to remind you, words are powerful. You speak everything into existence. So if you don't want that energy there, tell it to go, tell it you don't want it to be there. And again, use it as an opportunity, as an invitation to say, like, what are you trying to show me? Because they're trying to make an impact in some sort of way here. So I don't necessarily think that it's a bad energy, or they're, you know, here to haunt you, or they're here to do anything bad with you. I think that they're really here to teach you something and to show you something, and you're not getting it.
Yeah. And I think that it's possible or probable. Well, okay. In my experience, this has been the case. So that's why I always hesitate to make things seem like it's like hard fact, like this is how it is, because maybe it's not this way for other people, but this is how it's been for me. I have found that spirit communication often also like increases when spirit is not getting the attention and the energy that it needs. And I think that maybe happens a lot more with just like loved ones or people who are actually around us, you know, who actually are connected to us. Because like we said in the beginning, what we do for ourselves, we are doing for the collective in like a very energetic and spiritual way. You are still connected to your loved ones who have passed on. They're literally alive in you. I love that Sadhguru, this Indian mystic, he always says, like, you don't know your great grandfather, but his nose is sitting on your face. You carry all of your loved ones with you still, and like not in like a woo-woo fluffy way, but like in a literal scientific way, they are with us. And so when we are not paying enough attention to ourselves, we're not giving ourselves enough love, enough light, we are also probably neglecting them, and like vice, like it's just one and the same. Yeah. So I have found that spirit activity in my life has kicked up when there have been spirits that have been kind of like neglected or just haven't been receiving the honor that they're supposed to. And inevitably that has tied into something about myself that I haven't been honoring and that I haven't been acknowledging. But specifically for the spirit, what it has led me to do is to, in some cases, it's like, I got to let you go. Like, you are in a place that's not good for me, and we don't need to have this relationship anymore. I know that you're always going to be there, but the other alternative is to elevate that spirit, to give energy and love and light to that spirit, so that the way that they're interfering in your life or making themselves known in your life is not oppressive or like heavy feeling, or, you know, ominous feeling, that it feels light and it feels exciting, and it's coming from a place of them intervening because they want to help, and they're not dealing with their own like stickiness or, you know, whatever might have been kind of lingering around when they were in the physical. All of that is gone because you've really just kind of sent a bunch of love in that direction so that they could surrender. It's like a mutual surrender. Like you're surrendering so that they can come through you. But in some ways, they kind of have to let go of their old life and being physical so that they can just be energy, and they can be a part of your life in that way. So that's an option too for folks if you're having paranormal activity and you feel like just saying go away or trying to set up some boundaries doesn't seem to be working. It might be that it's a loved one that actually really needs your energy and your love. And like I said, that might also tie to something in yourself that is needing attention and love, because
That's
they are
exactly it.
shining a light on that, I think, too.
That's exactly it. That's that invitation that I said, to ask why are you here? What do you need to teach me? And you just nailed it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to just real quick before we start wrapping it up, because we touched on it a little bit. Um, and I do think it's an important topic. So I just want to make sure that we're being responsible and that we touched on it a little bit. For those who are out there who are having spirit activity, but perhaps maybe are dealing with some type of mental illness and are trying to distinguish between the two. How do I know that I should be seeing a therapist versus how do I know that I maybe should be joining Courtney's crew of psychics? How do I just know that I'm going down the path of exploring my psychic abilities or my mediumship responsibly, and I'm not deluding myself or lying to myself about like what's really going on in my body and in my mind?
Yeah. So I think it's really good to take inventory of, first off, like when the symptoms started or when things started. If I always say start by looking at mental health. Like truly, I think that that's important to start there because, there's a lot of people who are undiagnosed. Well, and so I think that I do want to say that it's still important to make sure that we're honoring that. So, I would say go through the process, reach out to someone, talk to your doctor to make sure that you're going through and saying, okay, that, I'm not, these aren't, symptoms connected to mental health. So I would start there. But what I would also say is like, really look and take that inventory on when this started. Did you have, was there a big significant life event? And then all of a sudden you're starting to get all these symptoms of anxiety and you're starting to, because then I'm starting to ask questions like, sounds like a spiritual awakening. This sounds like spirit starting to show up in your world and saying, hello, 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 pay attention to me. You're ready for us. I'm ready to work with you. Let's do this. So I would say if you're struggling, I want you to take inventory of some of the symptoms that you're feeling. I want you to take inventory of when they started. For me, I had the symptoms since I was a little girl. My anxiety started, but it was connected to an event that actually happened. So I knew that there was mental health that was connected to something else that wasn't my psychic abilities. So my psychic abilities were on top of this. So that's why I say go back to the root of when it started and look at that. And if it was really connected to some big significant changes in your life, that's probably a spiritual awakening. That's probably, you stepping into your gifts. It's probably spirit making an impact in your world. But if there's something else that, happened in your life that was really tragic and your anxiety has been going on for a while or your mental health has been going on for a while, I would say get that looked at first and get that taken care of. And then, then you can develop your gifts.
And I really like that you mentioned that the two can be happening at the same time, because I wasn't even really thinking about that. Like you could be dealing with some type of mental illness or some type of mental struggle, but also be having heightened psychic or mediumship abilities. And it's a good idea to kind of try to pull those two things apart by speaking to a professional and just sort of ironing out what elements of what's happening to you is paranormal or supernatural and what is maybe natural or biological, etc. So that's really key. Great. I love that. Very good advice. So I want to make sure that people are able to find you, because first of all, this has been a really, really great conversation. Thank you so much for being here, because I think that the psychic aspect of what we do is really important, kind of just to whoever you are. But in particular, my audience are witches and folks who practice magic. And so psychic information, psychic communication, spirit communication, these are all things that really strengthen us as witches and strengthen us as magic practitioners. So I'm really glad that I was able to have this conversation with you. And for folks who are feeling called to maybe want to join your community or learn more about the things that you are offering to other psychics out there, especially folks who are starting businesses and are interested in learning more about how their psychic abilities could actually inform them in the decisions that they make and like how they brand themselves, how they market themselves, and all of that good stuff. What are some of the things that you have going on that people could, get involved with right now?
Yeah, I love that you said that because spirit truly can support you with, helping your branding, helping you decide like, which avenue to take. Like if you lean into them, they will guide you 100%. So I love that you said that. I do have one-to-one coaching, which we do a lot of really deep work. We build your business. We work through everything that's sort of happening in your world so that you truly are in alignment. I have my Next Level Psychic membership, which is an amazing community. We do a math class every month. We have guest experts. You get a digital copy of my new magazine, which I'll mention in a second. You get activations from me and podcasts, all the things. So it's a beautiful community. There's so many beautiful sisters in there who are really developing their gifts. And it's for women at every level. So new beginners, and then some, seasoned practitioners as well, who we just want to get to our next level, whatever that next level is for you. And then I have Modern Day Psychic School, which is for, it's a 6-week program that helps you learn all of the tools to crystal therapy. I bring in my social work background and teach you like, traditional counseling, therapeutic tools, energy medicine, all the things. And then I have a new magazine, which I'm really excited about. It's called Next Level Psychic Magazine. This has been my biggest manifestation, and it's blown up more than I could have imagined. So I'm truly so grateful. But it is a monthly magazine. You can get it on Amazon right now. We will be expanding where you can get it, but right now it's on Amazon. And it is a space where, women are sharing stories, rituals, techniques, tools. We even have some inner child play in there with quizzes, all the things that you used to love in magazines when we were younger. I tried to incorporate that into this magazine and it's been a hit. So I'm truly so grateful. It's just been so amazing. So yes.
Yes. Congratulations on the launch of the magazine. That is so huge.
Thank you
It's
so
really
much.
awesome. I love that. So folks definitely have to go and check that out for sure. Just a quick question on terms of your community. I know that you center your focus around women and helping women in business and with their psychic abilities and stuff. For those who don't identify as women, do you know of any sources where people can go to just maybe find other psychics or community? Is there like a guy Courtney out there? Is there like a Courtney bro? You might have to start a partnership with like a bro
That's
version.
a really good idea. Like you just planted something for me. So I'm going to work on that.
Because I went to an all-girls high school and it had, a great education, all of the great stuff, but there's still something to be said for like having interaction with the other side. So we had there was a brother school. There was like an all boys school on the other side of town that was our brother school. So maybe you have like a sister brother psychic community.
Ooh, I love that download. Thank
For the
you.
guys.
So
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. I don't like, I know a couple people, but like, I don't really know anyone who's kind of doing what I'm doing or creating a space. So now I'm going to be on a mission to find someone. So thank you for that download.
Absolutely.
I do work with men too. I haven't had men come into my community yet. I've been thinking about expanding that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do one-on-one sessions with men, or other people who don't identify as women. So I absolutely can hold that space. I do hold that space.
Okay.
If someone is watching this and they're like, I want to work with you,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Okay, good to know. Yeah. Good to know. I just wanted to clarify that. So thank you so much for this. You guys, please make sure to check out Courtney, check out the community that she is growing, especially if you want to dive deeper into your psychic and mediumship skills for personal reasons, for magical or spiritual reasons, or for business reasons. All of those those things, it sounds like Courtney's got something that can help you grow and just live this magical life that we're living better, because that's the idea here. When we know better, we witch better. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Thank you, witches, for tuning in to another episode of the BetterWitch podcast, presented by the Modern Witch Network. New episodes air every week. You can watch the video broadcast on YouTube every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, or listen to the audio version on your favorite podcast platform every Thursday. And if you're a BronxWitch Coven member, join us right after each YouTube broadcast for a live Q&A about the episode. Whether you're watching on YouTube or tuning in on your favorite podcast platform, we want to know your thoughts on today's episode. So please make sure to leave reviews and drop comments wherever you are. Show support for this podcast by grabbing some sweet merch over on my YouTube channel, and join the BronxWitch Coven, also on YouTube, for behind-the-scenes footage from today's episode and details on how to join in on those live Q&As. See you next week, and blessed be.